welcome back. I'm Dorina Federici, and this is Let's Talk About Veterans, because their stories matter. And you're going to see Mark here, who was on before, talking about working with canines for the police and for the military. He is a Marine. And now we're going to talk about something totally different. If you're anything like me, I live in Wethersfield, and I felt like Dr. Doolittle. I have got these critters coming into my yard, and I'm just amazed. So Mark, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm glad
Talk
to
to
be
us
here.
about these wild animals we have going on.
Well, let's talk first about our bear population.
Right.
In Connecticut right now, it's a growing population. Right now in the state of Connecticut, we have roughly about 1,200 bears.
Wow.
That encompass now, they cover all 169 towns. Some, obviously, the majority of a lot of the sightings are out in your Farmington Valley.
Right.
Litchfield County, but right here in Wethersfield, where I also live, we have a couple bears wandering or lumbering around, and it's kind of new to people. They're not used to seeing bears, and even the bears have really been making an appearance the last 15, 20 years. Even in the like Farmington Valley, Litchfield, it wasn't that common to see a bear.
Right.
Now people have them 2-3 times a day.
Yeah.
Like yourself, you have one looking right near your Ring camera, like, "Hey, Dorina, how are you?"
Yeah, no, it was just
but
interesting to see.
It can be imposing, but you know what? They're by nature, like most wild creatures, they're skittish of us. However, the average bear in the state of Connecticut does weigh about 300 pounds, and when you think of their weight to strength ratio, very powerful animal.
Right.
If you think about it, like I said, the average is about 300 pounds, yet they can get up and I've worked with this 60-foot tree in literally of 8-9 seconds.
Wow.
And when you think about their grabbing power and and just the sheer power, and then the pressure of their jaw.
Right. Now, I was talking to you earlier. The bear that I saw on my Ring camera, when I posted it, says, "What does he have, a collar on?" And it did look like he had a collar, but with a little orange box type thingy on his collar, which I thought bears would be tagged on their ears. So you were explaining.
Well, that could be just the radio, the transmitter too. I haven't
is.
seen that, so it could be the transmitter. As far as tagging bears, most of the time you'll see the ear tags. A lot of times too, because bears will rub as they go through the woods. They rub against trees. They get caught in brush. Everything is made to come to quick release. Right. So even the collars, they're expensive for the state, but they are. We don't want a bear or something hung up on a branch or a limb and then stuck. Yeah. So they do come off. That's why you'll see sometimes 2, maybe even 3 on times. Okay. The significance of these tags that you see at the ear, alphanumeric numbers issued to them, and what the significance is, the different colors for different years. So you'll see a bear. I'll use the number E4, and that means that bear may have been tagged in, say, 2017, a sow. So the state, the DEP, they can track that bear, and they can tell you what the origin of it, and the background of it. If it's had cubs, how many, where it's denned before, based on a telemetry collar and prior cataloging when they go into the dens and anesthetize the mother. Anesthetize is just tranquilizing them, and
so they can put it
and
on.
then doing basically it's a physical for the bears. And all the bears in Connecticut and a lot of the wild a lot of the fur-bearing creatures now are getting microchips, just like your dogs and cats. So they can be scanned also.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting, and I know they said, if you have a bird feeder, put the ones that have the hot pepper on it, and then people are saying they're eating it anyway.
Oh, yeah,
so
thistle or Niger. Yeah, that's, if they're hungry, if they're going to eat it. But, I mean, I guess that's somewhat of a deterrent. It's probably more for squirrels, to be honest with you, the pepper. But even that, the squirrels, they're going to go and ravish after it, too. But the reason we're seeing bears, too, people ask, well, why do we see these bears? Why is there a resurgent? Why is there an annual growth in population? Is, if you think about it, Connecticut, years and years ago, not all that many, but 30, 40 years ago, we had a lot of agriculture. We had at one time almost over 1,200 farms, working farms in the state of Connecticut. Now I think there's not even 125 of valid working farms. So what happened is we don't have the flat land, we don't have the agriculture. What we had is a reforestation now for the last Connecticut. Connecticut's over 50, probably about 60% a forested state. Matter of fact, per capita, we're one of the most heavily forested states. And so that you're seeing that, what these forests have provided as a clear and a good habitat for not just the bears, but other fur-bearing creatures and several other creatures,
Right.
your birds, your bombus, your bees, and a lot of animals that we are seeing, your pollinators.
Here's a question. My granddaughter, goes to the middle school, but you also have the elementary kids, and the bus stop is right down because I'm in a cul-de-sac right there. And I asked her, do you know what to do if you're waiting for the bus and the bear comes? She goes, run. And I said, no. So can you explain, what can parents tell their kids? Because they are coming out in the morning. They are coming out during the day. If the kids are at the bus stop, what do they do?
Well, the first thing you do is if you see a bear, and it's imposing, don't get me wrong. I've been very close proximity and bluff charged countless times by them in the woods, is you want to remain calm. You want to remain calm. You want to create the space, a distance. You don't want to run, just like any creature. You don't want to engage a chase or prey drive. Bears, by nature, like most creatures, are rather shy away from us. But keep in mind, hence the word wild. Still wild, dangerous animals, make no mistake. You want to create the distance. You want to make yourself look large. I know everybody knows that and heard this countless times. If you open your jacket, wave your arms. The other thing you want to do is you want to identify. You want to speak to the bear. It sounds crazy, but you go, bear, go home, go back to the woods, bear, go. It's just I let that bear know that you're a human. You're something other than an animal.
Right.
So these things work. And the other thing, if a bear, and I tell everyone this, there's the old thinking of like, if you're ever attacked by a bear, lay on the ground, play dead. No, that does not work. With black bears, if you're ever approached or really attacked by a bear, you fight back, and you fight back by any means necessary, whether it's you got to grab your backpack, swing, you got to grab a stick, you got to grab whatever you've got to do to make yourself, render yourself safe. Fortunately, it's not common. Luckily, knock on wood, we haven't really seen that in Connecticut. We've had some close encounters where bears went up to people, they maybe pawed at folks, but we haven't had something so significant yet. Let me say that.
Well, you just never know.
Yeah, right. Hopefully not. And one of the problems, and I say this because there is a reforestation, and the bears are all over through this 169 towns in the state of Connecticut, is that they become so human habituated in food condition, a lot of them, they generally lost their fear of us, a lot of them.
Right.
They become imprinted. And of course, a lot of times too, like I'll use a town I used to work in, Simsbury.
Right.
And Weathersfield, all these towns, there's a lot of growth and development in that town. So what goes with that is parcels of property and land, trees, forests, places that would even provide some possible food source, some habitat, which now is removed. So they're seeking these bears are seeking a non-natural attractants, bird feeders, suet, garbage. Their nose, if you think about it, is their strongest scent. Yeah. They have good eyesight, but it pales in comparison to that nose. They could smell that oil from that bird seed half a mile away. The garbage, they can smell half-eaten pizza they got thrown out. The leftover rotisserie chicken that we toss out sometimes, leftovers. So that's why we're seeing them. I mean, and what the problem is, they become, like I said, very human habituated, very food conditioned, and a lot of them lost their fear. It's not uncommon. Like you said, when you're right in your neighborhood, bears lumbering right through the neighborhood, you could literally wave to it. It would look at you like, yeah, okay, finish mowing your lawn.
Right. Keep going.
The other thing is too, people have said to me, I had a bear. I was hiking in one of the state parks, and a bear stood up and stood up, and they thought that was going to attack. No, the bear, what he was trying to do is figure out who you are. What are you? Are you scenting it? Are you human or what? If you think about it, you never seen a bear ever chase you like, honestly, hey, get out of here, go. I'm going to get you, I'm going to get you. You know what I mean? You never saw that. It doesn't occur. They're on their 4 feet. When you see them going down low, it's going to start, right. Yeah. That's when you alert. But if they're up, they're scenting. Not to minimize it, it's imposing and scary, trust me. These are large, dangerous animals. Wild animals, beautiful sea, beautiful creature.
Absolutely.
But definitely
Yeah.
it can be imposing.
And then there's another critter that seems to be in our woods here in Weathersfield too, and you can hear them howling at night. So tell us a little bit about them.
Sure, yeah, let me see. Weathersfield, the good news is we have no shortage of coyotes. So what's going on right now is that's another species that has no predators, or I could describe them as like the wolves of the Northeast here, in a sense. It is a wild canine. And what we're experiencing, and one of the most highly adaptable creatures, the coyote. They're Central Park, Hartford. They can den up on the side of your shed, in thickets, brush. You trust me, places you wouldn't expect, and you walk right by them, you would never know.
Right.
But they're an animal that's an opportunistic predator, and you have to be careful. Fortunately, most of the coyotes, unless they're sick or injured, like any wild creature, will shy away from you, will run. You know, just like the fox. They may go on your yard in the morning at night,
Right.
and you'll hear them with that shrill, and we probably have all heard that at times in Weathersfield. But for the most part, it's you go outside, it runs. And same with the coyotes, unless they're sick or injured or something else.
Pretty big.
But coyotes are big, and I'll tell you what's been happening here. Yeah, coyotes in Connecticut, and well, the whole East Coast. You're going to find your East Coast species, almost all your fur-bearing species, are larger than their Western counterparts. Because face it, we have a harsher climate. We have, you know, it's a little different than the West. But a coyote, say out in middle of Montana, is going to be a little more slighter, a little more lighter and smaller. In most cases, than our East, ones here on the East Coast.
I've seen them walk by, and it's like,
what's
whoa.
happening with some of them is they've been testing positive with a small percentage of gray wolf DNA coyotes. Don't keep in mind, we're not far from the Canadian border.
Right.
We're not all that far. Gray wolves have been, matter of just a few years ago in the state of Massachusetts, right, just borders us, probably less than about 100 miles from here, a farmer in Mass ended up euthanizing one, dispatching one because it was attacking his livestock, his sheep.
Wow.
He thought it was a coyote at the time, but when the state did a necropsy on it, it turns out it was a gray wolf.
Wow.
And they're just probably about the same size as a coyote, maybe a little bigger. So I'm guessing in the years to come, that may be one of the next species that you see. And right now, you see a hybridization of certain species anyway. So.
What's the difference between a coyote and a wolf besides maybe the howl? I don't know, but
Oh,
like when
well,
you see them,
well, obviously the size.
the wolf would be bigger than a coyote.
Oh yeah.
lot bigger.
Matter of fact, coyotes, wolves will go after coyotes.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, wolves will go after coyotes. I mean, it's not uncommon.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and again, like I said, in this, those of you that aren't here in Connecticut or Weathersfield, it's just very unusual. It seems like it's every day it's another creature that we're not used to seeing in our front lawns.
Right, right. I love seeing all these creatures.
me
I've worked,
too.
been blessed to be able to work with these with animals and in the wildlife.
Yeah.
But and especially in towns right now where it's kind of new. You know,
Right.
if you're in an area where you're always in the woods and you've seen them over the years, but Weathersfield's this is pretty new to them, hearing all the hooting and hollering at night and seeing 200-300 pound creatures walk through your yard and flip your garbage. You go, hey, let me see what they have in here.
Yep. Yeah.
Here's the other thing. Keep this in mind, folks. Your dogs, like I said, coyotes are opportunistic predators. So if you're walking your dog, they're most active dawn and dusk, but that's not necessarily the case all the time. They are, like I said, they're out foraging for food, trolling for food. Right now we're in the post-birthing season, so it's even more common to see them out. But if you're walking your dog, keep your dog on a leash, even in your yard at night. Right. Folks have the false sense of security that, well, I have a fence, 4-foot fence, I have a 5-foot fence, chain link fence. They can climb. They can get over that fence. Most fur-bearing species, and I say that, people don't think a skunk can get over, a woodchuck can get over a fence. Of course, fox, I mean, trust me. So what I recommend, especially if you're in an area that you abut like a wooded area, like some of our town parks or forested areas here in the town of Weathersfield, at night, keep your dog on a leash, and make sure you're at least out there with the dog at night.
Exactly.
But I tell people you can put your dog on a long lead, 30-foot lead, 40-foot lead. Training, you can buy them at any store, Walmart, Petco. You can make one. You can go to the local hardware here right in town, get a swivel hook and a check cord, buy for $5, and you can make a 40-foot thing. What it does is you can still you exercise still ultimate control over your dog. You let your dog run around the yard, you run around, have its fun, do its business at night. But if something hops that fence or encroaches your yard, you can wheel that back in, and you still have control, no matter what happens to get your dog. They can be imposing, and when you hear them at night, a lot of times people think they're like 5 feet apart. Believe it or not, they're in probably different areas, some closer, but they're out there communicating, letting people know letting each other know what's going on.
We're out here.
So, but once again, you have to be cautious with any of these creatures. Here's the other thing. I'm going to leave this with you too. Is, you know what? I know they're beautiful to see, and I know a lot of people are well-intended, very kind. You say, I'm going to leave some food out. You know what? I'm going to leave a couple little chicken pieces on my lawn. I'm going to leave some apples for the bears. Bears will eat chicken. Bears will eat. They're omnivorous. But keep this in mind, and I'll say this: a fed animal is a dead animal for wildlife. A bear is a dead bear. Coyote, dead, because what happens is they become imprinted, they become human habituated, and what happens is they may be, and we've seen this with several houses that I've been to where people were feeding them off their back deck or getting them very habituated, where they have 2 or 3 almost the same time, a couple nights a week, by their back deck. What happens is it's unfair to the animal, because what happens, it becomes human habitual, like I said, it becomes food condition, and now it becomes a real nuisance in the town, and ultimately it's at the demise of the animal. You can't have an animal going around thinking, it's okay just to walk up the deck to Doreen and go, hey, what do you got? Hey, you got Popeyes?
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, you're not doing the animal any favor. And I'll give you a story. It was like at Hamden, not too long ago. The kids of the local, one of the fast food restaurants at night, like a McDonald's or Burger King, it abutted a wooded area, forested area. What they were doing at night is they were throwing like some of the scraps, and they would come out of the wood line, because coyotes lie in wait. Like I said, they're sneaky, they're opportunistic. That's how they get a lot of their prey, including, unfortunately, sometimes our domestic animals. Right. So they wait in the tree line, it can come out. But what these kids were doing, and trying to be kind, probably, we're going to throw this out anyway, leave it. They come out, 2 or 3 of them. Well, what happened a couple of times, after a while, some of these coyotes, 1 or 2 of them anyway, would be going to the parking lot. Folks would be walking with their bags, and they'd come and grab them. One guy says, no, I just paid $12 for this. You're not getting this. This Whopper with cheese or whatever.
Did he realize it was a coyote, or did he think it was just
Well,
a
it
dog?
bit him. It ended up biting him on his ankle. Bob bit him on his ankle and his leg, because he did. He says, he probably thought, he didn't know at first dark. It was dark, but it was a coyote. I mean, state went right out there. So But once again, people are very kind. They're well-intended by trying to leave some food out. This poor thing is hungry. It's looking for food. It's in garbage. You're doing the animal no favor. You're doing your community no favor. You're doing your neighbors no favor.
Right.
Because once again, we don't want them human habituated and food and condition around people. All wild creatures should have a certain fear of us. There should be a certain level of discomfort with us, where they shouldn't be comfortable just walking feet from us, or walking up our deck, or walking in our garage. Unfortunately, we're seeing that all too often. Particularly with our bear population right now, our black bear population, and with the bears, keep in mind, they're black bears, but you can see them sometimes a little lighter shade. People call, I got a grizzly bear, I got a brown bear, and there have been different shades or hues of with the fur. But what we have in Connecticut is solely black bear.
Because the one that was on my Ring camera looked more on a brown side.
Yeah,
Not that I know the
yeah.
difference between black or brown bear. I don't know
Well,
which
they're,
is worse, but
the brown or the grizzlies,
They're-
you know,
they're the ones
quite
that are-
larger. However, you know, black bears can be quite dangerous. And you're not going to outrun them. They can run to about 30, 35 miles an hour for short distances. And you're not going to hop in a tree and get away from
no,
it. So
they'll be right there before me.
just
Yeah.
if you ever encounter a bear and it's in a situation where it's, you know, obviously you're threatened, create distance, remain calm in any situation. Remain calm, create the space. You have to get on your phone. You call the local police department.
Right.
And you know, and if God forbid ever it really comes at you, you fight back, especially with the bear. And that goes with any species, a coyote, anything, you know.
Give him a punch in
Or you can do like, I had a woodchuck one time. It turned out to be rabid.
Oh,
and it was chasing me around my truck. I struck in the yard, and it was almost catching me. Now here I'm in full uniform and everything, and you know, got gun belt on, everything, and I ended up jumping on the back of this guy's Dodge Ram, his new
Was
truck.
he trying to get up there with
Yeah, he was. Unfortunately, it turned out it was positive for rabies.
Oh.
It had bitten the homeowner twice on the ankle.
Wow.
And it was when I got the call, I go, "That's so uncommon. I've never heard of that." You know, woodchuck.
doing that?
But warm-blooded, you know, can contract the rabies virus, which is contracted by saliva, by the way. People think it's by blood. It's by the saliva.
Yeah.
It attacks the central nervous system.
Yeah, my Ring has been very busy the past few nights. It's about 2 or 3 times a night. It's been a skunk. It's been the fox. It's been, I don't know if it's a woodchuck, and the rabbits, and of course the squirrels. Everybody decided to walk in front of that ring, and it's just too funny to watch. But it is beautiful to see, but I'm glad I'm inside and they're outside.
Yeah. Weathersfield's a beautiful
wanna
community. It's a
bother them.
nice community. Yeah, it's great to see the wildlife. You just got to where people are going to have to kind of somewhat get used to it because the state's not going to.
sharing
Yeah, you can't remove every coyote. You can't remove. People will call the state. Why is there coyotes? Why is there bears? They're here. I mean, if one is really a nuisance, really posing a danger,
They'll take care of it.
it'll be dealt with. But for the most part, you know, you can't remove every wild creature, nor do you want to.
No, you don't want to. No.
You know, we've got to. I use the word coexist, be able to share our environment.
Right.
You know, so
And we're giving enough information, like don't feed them. Take your bird feeders out if you have to. Do this, do that. So we do have the information out there.
Remove all the non-natural attractants if you can. I don't want people to live like prisoners in their yards and stuff, but
It's only for
this
a few
time of
months.
year, especially for birds, you know, your songbirds, all your birds for the most part have a bountiful food source.
Right.
So they really, it's not necessary. They do have a bountiful food source. And a lot of times, to speak briefly on the birds, they get so trained and focused on that too, just on the seed. You almost create, you know,
Another thing, same thing.
create another habituation, which is
We've
a
had
great
a lot
thing.
of
Birds-
rain. There's a lot of worms out
of
there.
birds. Right. I mean, you know, the birds are a little different, but because they're beautiful. I feed them myself, not now, but I love seeing them.
They're gorgeous. Yeah.
It's you know, it's another amazing creature.
Yeah,
They go back to the
absolutely.
dinosaur age.
Yeah.
And
It's just really nice seeing all this.
it is.
right there.
We just have to learn how to coexist with them and
Exactly.
manage our property safe and secure. Here's the other thing with your garbage. When you put it to the curb, don't hesitate. Throw a little bleach, throw a little ammonia on it. It's not
hurt
foolproof. What it does, though, it kind of somewhat disguises and masks that wafting smell of the food. So that could be a deterrent. I think some of these refuse companies sell or lease bear-proof containers.
Oh, wow.
Some of them will do that. I know when like the towns that really see them, like I'll use Simsbury, Avon, out that way, Farmington. That's
something.
quite common. So, and the other thing is, if you see a red tag in a bear's ear, people associate. What do we associate red with? Danger and caution. A red tag is just the year the bear was tagged. It would never be a dangerous bear allowed to roam around or be in a public area. It would be, taken care of.
Yeah.
And every bear that the state responds to, I don't want you to think the state takes them right away, euthanize them because you hear that, they just kill all the bear. That's not true. They removed the other
Just
other
themselves.
areas of Connecticut, more forested
Right.
in areas, so.
Yeah. Well, Mark, this was good, and I think it's great, and I hope people that watch this will also share it with their, excuse me, with their families and with their towns, because it's really important, especially kids are still in school. If a bear comes, coyote, people are out there walking a little bit later in the evening. That's when you're going to bump into them. I know one time there was a fox waiting for me when I came out of the woods, and I'm like, I'm going the other way. I didn't know if it would do anything, but
Yeah.
why should I go towards it? I
Yeah.
might as well go around the block the other way. Why cause anything? So this is great to have this. And Mark, thank you. And I'm sure Mark will be back with more because he's a wealth of knowledge.
We could speak
There you go.
the different species of animals and so forth. And it's up to you, but I have no problem really giving out my email if somebody has
Sure.
any questions on that.
Right. We'll go ahead and we'll put the email on the podcast. So while we're talking, you're going to see his email there, so you can get a hold of him and ask
Yeah.
any kind of questions you want.
Yes, by all means. My name is Mark Rudewicz, and Doreen is going to be nice enough to post my email, and don't
Absolutely.
hesitate to reach out to me if you have any questions on wildlife or anything I can answer. Be glad to give you some honest, straight answers on this. Okay?
Yep.
Thank you. I appreciate your time, folks, and thank you for listening.
Yep. Thank you again, Mark. And if you're a veteran-owned business, you offer service for veterans, just go ahead and get a hold of me. I'd like to have you on one of the podcasts and interview you. We can do it this way. We can do it through Team. It's almost like a Zoom. Any way that you're comfortable with. And if just email me at dfederici@dfederici.aft@gmail.com. I have too many email addresses. And you can follow us on Facebook at America's Freedom Tribute. And also we have our website, americasfreedomtribute.org, and the podcast, which is on YouTube, America's Freedom Tribute-AFT. So again, this is brought to you by Patriot Mobile, and it's a phone service for America's Freedom Tribute. And I would like to have everybody just pray for our troops and for their families, make everyone safe, have them come home as soon as they can. And it's until next time. I can't wait for our next guest to come. We were gone for 2 weeks, but we're coming back. So thank you again for listening. And remember, veterans' voices matter today and every day. So until next time, have a great night.